All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Danny De La Cruz, and this is The Common Rule. So now this is my fifth episode here. Chugging along, trying to just, probably just talking out into the great big void, but whatever, it's good practice. But I've been thinking about doing a podcast now for a while, probably for the last 3 months. I've been thinking about podcast, what I want to do, how I want to do it, what it is I wanted to talk about. And I came up with an idea, theme of essentially helping out with the creative process and absorbing as much as I can from anything and everything out there that's going to help me with my creative process. So I am looking at the world a little differently since then. I'm trying to apply things that I see, things that I experience, and try to somehow plug that into my thought process here. And let me tell you. Before we get started here, this podcast is brought to you by Phoenix Film Revival. It's a darkroom lab and photo processing place in the art section in Phoenix. Check them out, man. If you're interested, if you're in town, their Instagram is @PHX Film Revival. Daniel runs it, and he holds workshops, and of course there's time in the darkroom if you want to process some prints. Check them out. And I promise we will get guests on this show. It's just not going to be me talking your ear off about bullshit. I promise that we will get guests. I will have conversations with people and creative people in all types of genre, and this thing is going to be a hell of a lot more interesting than just me fucking ranting and raving about shit. So last night, a buddy of mine, I'm not gonna mention his name because might get in trouble. I don't know, but a buddy of mine went out. We went out, decided to go to our local bar here, hang out, see if they had some music playing, live music. They did. It was cool. It was all right. A cover band, and then a quasi original band with like a half and half. Half originals, half cover. Your favorite Tom Petty tunes and such. And then it got late, but we weren't shit-faced, we weren't drunk, we were just having a great conversation. Something came up, and, things decide to come up, and we decided to, hit a strip club. Now, as it turns out, in Phoenix, there are plenty of strip clubs, of course, but it was late. It was closing time at the bar, and we just wanted to experience something. I've never been to an after hours joint. I didn't know that certain strip clubs are open till 5 or 6 in the morning. Turns out that, there are plenty of them out there. So we went to one, and I'm not going to mention which one either, but man, it's just fucking terrible. It wasn't, I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting better talent, I don't know. At one point it must have been 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were the only ones in the room. And aside from the stripper and the DJ, now on stage is Alexis, that cat. Man, very, it was an experience. Let me tell you what. And you know what? I guess I'd do it again if I was not right away. But apparently there are better ones than that. I've verified through a reliable source that there's better ones than that. But as I sat there, staring into the dark, poorly lit void of the stage, I noticed things. I noticed that there are certain things that we could apply from a stripper, or an exotic dancer, if you will, to our creative process. And you know what? Bear with me here. What I noticed is that they hustle, constantly requesting business in the way of a lap dance outside of their actual stage presence. They're always hustling, constantly working the room, going around, and basically trying to get business. And the other thing that I noticed is that the ladies working weren't particularly, well, let's just say they weren't particularly exotic looking. They, not to talk shit or anything like that, but they weren't, let's just say they weren't the first string team. They were normal looking. I mean, they weren't ugly by any means, but I mean, it's very difficult to pay for a lap dance from someone that you can meet on the street. I'm just saying. However, what is particularly interesting is that these girls are indifferent. They're indifferent of other people's perception of them. They will continue to hustle. They will continue to work. They just don't give a fuck what you think about them. That's my point. They don't care. They're just going to go out there and they're going to continue to work and be known, be recognized. I'm here to work. You're in my workplace. Let's do business. All right, so this is, and that salesmanship, that level of salesmanship, I can appreciate. I love it. I think it's awesome. And maybe some of you out there, all four of you out there that are listening, can help me out with this. Drop me a line as far as how do I apply this to myself, and if you guys can help me out, I want my work to get out there too. And in a sense is like I do struggle with being a salesperson to my work. Now, I'm not saying that, hey man, we create to sell or we create to do this and that. There is a certain ego to this, and there is a certain level of recognition that some of us really wish we had. Now, and it's not that like, oh, look at me again, ranting and raving from the previous episode of getting Instagram likes or anything like that. But there is a point where selling your work to someone else would be nice. Of course, you can always give it away to your friends and family, have them put it up on their wall in the bathroom or some shit like that. But it's always really nice when a stranger approaches you and go, hey man, I really dig that. I would love to have it. And how much do you want for it? I have no idea. And this isn't, this isn't the episode where I go, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z. You need to do this. You need to do that. Because when I listen to a lot of those people, there's a lot of bad information out there. And I think that some of the people that are out there telling you how to sell shit aren't even selling anything because their work is just average at best. And this is something else I'll touch up on a little bit on. So I am a terrible salesperson for my work. I need, and I know this, and I need to work on it. And as opposed to being shameless and walking up to everybody or anybody in the street and goes, hey man, check out my work. You should see it. You should buy it. You should do this and others. I don't have a plan of attack. I look at, things like a balance. I mean, I look at things like when you go, when you go to Costco and you go over to the food section and and I think it happens in most department stores too, or supermarkets, is that there's a lady, hairnet, and usually they're dressed in white and they're giving you samples of the food that they sell so that, you can buy in Costco's case, buy a fucking truckload of the thing that'll last you for, the next 10 generations. But you buy it because it's cheap. But they give you samples so that you know what it tastes like, and then those are free. And you eat them and you go, yes, or no. I thought about that as well. Like, okay, so in my work, I figure the samples are the free stuff that I give away, not the physical free stuff, but the stuff of maybe on the internet, on the Instagram, on your blog, where Facebook, if you're still into that thing, or MySpace, if that's coming back. But you put your work out there for people to see and hopefully gain interest in your work. I mean, and that works for some people. I don't know the magic of the social media yet, man. It's just, I don't understand how some people have all the followers in the world, and then I look at another artist whose work is just fucking pristine and has fucking 2 followers, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I don't know how, if you guys can explain that one to me, that's also awesome too. But how much do we share online, and how much do we use these samples in order to sell something? I think that's a great question. Here's a few things that I do know, or that at least I think I know. I think that if your work is legit, if you are a real artist, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here to some of you that already are established and sell your work. But if you have legit work, if you have legit talent and connections and such, collectors will be interested, and collectors will ask for a price and will pay any price that you demand. And in certain cases, I guess there's a documentary out there, and I got to watch it, but I have some highlights of a documentary on the art world where sometimes you're not even considered an artist unless your work is at a minimum price on something. I don't know, something like $15,000 or something like that. Then you're a real collectible artist. I don't know I don't know the exact price, but there's a bottom line where collectors aren't going to collect your work unless it starts out being sold at a minimum. And you know what? That's for another discussion too. Because if I was collecting art, key word is collecting, because you want to have some value to it, and so that's that portion. So if you are making collectible art, then yeah, you're going to demand collectible prices. But some of us are aimed at the blue collar market, to say, and you know what? That's all right. That's all right. But what we do need to understand is that we need to know our lane. Are we a collectible artist, or are we blue collar artist? And I think that takes self-awareness and maybe even a little shot to the ego. I don't think that just because you're in a blue collar position doesn't mean that you can't grow and actually make art for both worlds. I mean, shit, some people got it that way, man. Some people are amazing. Like as far as back to the photography reference, there's this cat named This Farmer, made a lot of portraits in a small town as a blue collar photographer. He didn't get rich right away, but what he didn't realize then that now his work and his portraits from that era in that town are collectibles. They are worth and they demand a lot of money. And insert your favorite artist here that didn't make it while they were alive and are huge collectibles. Their work is worth millions now. I mean, it's almost a cliche. But the other thing that I do want to bring in here too is that maybe we have a niche, if you will, a niche to where, as a photographer, we do certain things like make handmade black and white prints that are definitely collectible, back to the old schools. Maybe you only take, you specialize in a certain subject. Now, this is, again, another lesson from the strippers. Some strippers know that there's a niche for the bigger girls, some with the girls with the muscles, some, if you're blonde, or of a particular culture, ethnicity, everyone's always looking for those. And while you may not fare as well in one genre or niche, you are going to do very well in another niche, and finding the niche is part of the overall growing experience, I guess. Few are the strippers that are making money all across the board, and they're out there, fucking unicorns. Every day they make a lot of money. I mean, there's strippers, and again, drawing the stripper comparison, I just happen to know a few exotic dancers that are killing it, making a lot of money. I suspect upwards of, closing in on six figures, man. And then there are others that are just under blue collar money, just under, working registered jobs somewhere, So that whole exotic dancer genre, I think is very applicable to how we are going to how we're going to apply that to our creative flow and our output as far as selling our work. It is definitely something worth studying. And as a aspiring artist and aspiring musician, this is definitely something that I am going to have to dive in and do a lot more research on, as far as going out and really studying the exotic dancer in her element, and applying all that I learned, applying everything I learned from that to myself. Hey, you gotta get inspired. You gotta be open. You gotta be open and be the antenna and be inspired from everywhere. And this is what I'm telling you. All right, that's it for this one, man. Thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much. Enjoy your youth.